If you love roguelites, None Shall Intrude will be one to try, since it switches roles and allows you to be a powerful raid boss instead of heroes trying to take it down, in which you are using an array of abilities to take on a party of heroes. As compared to more classic deck builders like Slay the Spire, you are facing off against a much larger number of enemies and thus have leveling and customization options for the boss. The current demo only shows off a dragon, so I don't know if there will be any other playable bosses, but it's a neat inversion that is worth checking out. Another game with a killer art style is Last Spartan Glory Over Madness, a roguelite dice builder that has you playing as King Leonidas, returning home to find that their victory has awakened an ancient eldritch evil and, driven mad by guilt, must fight his way through in order to save his homeland from insanity. Of course, the art style is very Darkest Dungeon inspired, with the customization and upgrading of different sides of the dice being a key part of the game, and you are also able to call upon any one of 10 Greek gods for help, which offer different abilities and looks neat. This video is brought to you by Pairs and Perils, a memory game roguelike framed as a dungeon crawler in which you have to match cards to do everything from attacking enemies to avoiding traps and even to shop for relics. You have to pair the hero with their corresponding weapon and have to avoid traps, since that not only injures you but also ends your turn. Of course, you can augment your build with relics as well as consumable items to be used at strategic times, with enemies and bosses also having special abilities that alter the game, and it's a fresh twist on the idea, so if curious, check out the demo on Steam and wishlist the game. The developer of REDLINE CROOKS reached out, and I thought that it was interesting, being a roguelite combat racer in which you are driving a car, destroying cops, the walls, and maybe even yourself in a desperate attempt at freedom. Car combat titles are not my thing, but this has an almost racing game style to the road and lanes here, so I wonder how that fits into the gameplay, since enemies appear to be coming from all sides, so the best way to find out is to try the demo. Another title that I have my eye on is Toads of the Bayou, a roguelite tactics title with a deck building element, in which you are commanding toads in combat against the deadly forces of Baron Samedi, a legendary spirit from Haitian voodoo that is popular in myths and tales around the swamps of Louisiana, of which this is drawing upon. Of course, the pixel art is on point, with the deck building tactical combat being interesting strategically, and you have a home base in the tavern which you can upgrade, which will form the basis of the permanent progression systems in the game. And this releases very soon in November, so definitely give it a go. A neat looking action-adventure RPG with roguelite elements is Otherlights, one that has intriguing world building, being set in a sunless world where humanity has congregated around sources of light, with wastelands of darkness in between known as the Abysses. Your character is attempting to gain access to something known as a solar shard, which will provide light, but of course is guarded by a powerful enemy, having to battle and level up to get stronger in order to do so. There are a variety of heroes to unlock, and also co-op support, looking potentially fun with friends. As compared to when I last talked about Rogue Labyrinth, the main character and game itself has undergone somewhat of a visual change, being less anime and more pixel art, in which you are fighting your way through an egotistical billionaire's labyrinth, which was built at the base of the largest great tree in the land, where contestants battle over who gets to become monarch. It is a self-styled action narrative roguelite, so there is a story here, since you are talking to characters and playing politics between rival factions in between the combat, and thus look like fun. A title from Singaporean indie developer Yong Just Yong is named Cats and Dice, a game inspired by Balatro of course, but with fortune cats and dice instead. You are still attempting to play quote-unquote poker hands in this game through the rolling of dice, such as getting 6 of a kind, with the cats adding various modifiers to boost your score, and who knows, might be the next big hit. From the developer of No Place for Bravery comes To Kill a God, a game which is set in the same universe and explains parts of the mysteries surrounding the giants, dragons, and the events leading up to that game. For the most part, this looks like a Vampire Survivors style bullet heaven roguelite in which swarms of enemies are thrown at you and you need to kite them around, but the developers have come up with something known as a skill map system in which the map is your skill tree, and I don't know what that means. According to them, all elements in the map, when possible, will behave like characters on a journey, but I don't know how that relates to skills and perks, but the skill tree is massive in that Path of Exile style, so that alone has got me very interested. The developer of SPELLHACK also reached out, and I had to cover it since it is just so weird and unique, not looking the most visually attractive with the throwback look, but get this, it is a real-time survival deck builder title of all things. You are exploring Doom City and upgrading your techno spells in the day, which are then used to fight against summoned beasts at night, being weird, unique, and so indie games. Another interesting looking strategy roguelite title is ColdRidge, which is set in the mystical Wild West, so exploring is key as you make your way across cursed terrain. It's like the exploration part of the early game of Civilization, since you are venturing into the unknown, mapping out resource deposits for the guild, and seems to have a push your luck mechanic depending on which contract you decide to take on. As such, a prospecting and exploration focused roguelite is not something you see every day, so if curious, do give this a try. A game that doesn't exactly have the most memorable title is Forest Heroes, a roguelite defense title in that side-scrolling tug-of-war section of strategy games. You're using your animal allies to fight against sentient, evil, corrupted plants, with your player avatar being on the battlefield in a manner similar to Kingdom, with, I presume, the yellow square at the feet of said character being where your attacks and abilities will affect. It is very cute and could be interesting, with the deck building elements adding to the strategy. A game which might be obvious in hindsight is Ballionaire, a combination between ball and millionaire or billionaire, I suppose, a pachinko-inspired roguelite in which you are dropping balls on triggers or pegs, which then combo together to get the highest score possible, and has been shouted out by the creator of Balatro, Local Thunk as well, so I'm sure that there must be something special here. I also happen to chance upon quite a number of dice-based roguelites, a subset of the roguelite deck builder that has not really taken off with any one particular mega hit, so the market is wide open for titles like Dicealot. This is inspired by Arthurian legend, probably being a play on the word Camelot, and apparently the gameplay is similar to something called Farkle. No, not a bad word, but an actual dice game spelled F-A-R-K-E-L, in which one or more scoring dice are set aside after you roll, so there is an element of strategy and probability here and looks awesome. Going back to something more classic looking in Atomic Owl, a roguelite platformer with a Japanese theme, in which you play as a shinobi owl, gathering strength and fighting your way through in order to get to the evil Omega Wing, a void crow who has brainwashed your troop in a classic revenge story. Me being me, of course the pixel art appeals to me, but at the same time, we have seen some pixel art roguelites stumble as of late, so it's a crowded niche to get into, so let's see if they have anything special up their sleeves. I've been banging on and on about StarVaders for quite a while as well, a neat looking tactics roguelite with some elements of Space Invaders in which you are piloting a mech and battling oncoming foes from the top of the screen in turn-based combat. I believe there should be some anime inspiration here with the theme and visuals, and as a Q2 2025 release window, which is curious since there should be another Steam Next Festival in February, so that would have been my pick for them rather than this one, since games can only be in one Steam Next Fest. But the event is getting more crowded, so maybe the earlier date will work out better for them. Another title that fans of the channel will be familiar with is Dunjungle, a game which I have featured in the past during events like my summer showcase, where this pixel art roguelite platformer allows you to play as a monkey, so of course I'm in. Now technically, other than the animations, I don't think being a monkey will have that much of an effect on the gameplay as compared to if the character was a human or something, but it's a cool choice of character and fits in nicely with the world that they have created, with it releasing very soon in October 2024. The auto battler as a genre has persisted as a concept even past the heyday of auto chess, Dota Underlords and teamfight tactics, where, side note, League people, how is TFT doing? I genuinely have no idea since Riot is off in their own ecosystem and would love an update, so let me know in the comments. But back to Commander Quest, a roguelite deck builder in which you are summoning units from your deck and placing them onto the battlefield, conveniently separated into distinct lanes, after which they will automatically move forward and attack the enemy. As compared to other auto battlers, this is not a one-round game where you draft and place the entire army on the battlefield and hit the go button, but rather you have multiple turns limited by the energy in terms of which units to summon or ability to use, all with an awesome presentation of tiny units on the battlefield and looks very promising. Just a short trailer here for Garden of Witches, a 3/4 view action roguelite with a cute art style in which the witches need to throw a tea party, but the garden is overrun with dangerous monsters, coming to us from a Korean developer and looks nice. I was confused for just a second here when I saw this next title, since developer Cracked Shell has two similarly named series in Hammerwatch and Heroes of Hammerwatch, the former being action-adventure RPGs and the latter being roguelite versions of that, where Hammerwatch II just released last year, but we are talking about Heroes of Hammerwatch II in this case. Similarly, this is a gorgeous pixel art title with a meta progression layer in the form of a town to build up, where you can then get upgrades to adventure in the ever-changing Dark Citadel, where I remember this being better in co-op, so grab a couple of friends to give it a go. I was a bit confused when Crema, the developer of the hit monster taming RPG Temtem, announced Temtem Swarm, a Vampire Survivors clone for lack of a better term, and that was after the release of Potato, Pulse of Torment and more, so it seemed out of character, but apparently their community and others are proving me wrong with strong interest in the game, and this looks pretty polished as well. In Survivors roguelite style, the game spams enemies at you, but since you can choose from different playable Tems, which can then evolve to become stronger, and also has co-op support, this looks to be a hit, and I can see the appeal since I love monster taming games myself. From the developer of the turn-based RPG Aria Chronicle comes Project Tachyon, a run-and-gun roguelite platformer with Japanese voice acting that seems pretty good, in which our heroine has to travel through time to prevent the rise of artificial intelligence. Sound familiar? This conveniently provides the basis for the roguelite structure, and I appreciate when developers bother to explain why the main character can die and respawn run after run, where our heroine is the only one that can retain memories, but will slowly come to uncover the hidden past, traumas, and personality traits of the different NPCs. While largely range combat focused, you do have access to melee weapons as well, and has a gene mutation system as their perks equivalent, looking pretty well made, so give it a try. A fun looking title is Make Lawn, where I still don't have a name for this kind of art style of pixel art, but with extra thick borders that does give it a great look. so let me know in the comments if you know what this is, where this is a defense real-time strategy title where you build in the day and fight enemies at night, having procedural generation of the world when you fail, which is where the roguelite part comes in. Now this next title has potential since the addition of automation and factory building elements to a game tends to attract a crowd that can get very into your game, which is the appeal of Tower Factory, having to gather and process enough resources to allow you to continue building more towers so that you can fend off waves of enemies. From the screenshots, it appears that there is a very distinct path marked out in which enemies will march towards your base, with the rest of the map being unmarked, so you are free to build and explore there, having a clear separation between the two, but it looks like you must eventually scout the map to locate the enemy castle to presumably destroy it, and if Mindustry is anything to go by, this should be a hit as well. Not to belabor the point since Survivor-style roguelites have been done to death, but yet we have something like Hordes of Hunger coming out as well, one that has an isometric and behind the back camera angle looking like Diablo or Dragon Age in spots, in which our heroine has to battle living hunger, which is perhaps just zombies by another name. Still, this comes to us from developer Hyperstrange, creators of the heavy metal slasher Elderborn, so they know what they're doing, with the combat in this being rather juicy as compared to the no feedback of some very bad Vampire Survivors clones, also having an actual narrative and story as our heroine uncovers the truth behind the curse that has befallen the land, being fully voiced as well and looks great. Watch this video for more roguelites.